Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Chris. Before you listen to this podcast, I want to let you know that this was filmed about a week ago. When you see this is getting uploaded on Sunday. It was filmed last Friday. It's not like this past Friday, the previous Friday. So it's been about 9 days since we recorded this. It's purely the reason why it's still there, why it has not been uploaded by my own laziness, and I have not been able to edit it all together. So I apologize about that. So some of the commentary is going to be a bit outdated. I can tell you for certain the Panthers part is going to be very outdated because there's a lot that happened with them. Cam Newton is now throwing the ball, so it looks like he's going to be healthy, and that Jerome McCoy is now on the team on the defensive line. Certainly from my perspective, that changed my view of the team at least a little bit. I was very down on the team in this episode, as you'll hear. But we're going to be talking about the 32 NFL teams and what to expect from them. So that's why that detail and these details are very important to include. Also, the Texans fired their general manager. There's a lot. There's a lot that ended up happening over the course of the last week, and ultimately when this video goes up tomorrow, maybe there'll even be more shit that has happened. So just just be cool with this. I know it's the last football episode. We should have everything right. It should have gone out earlier, and I apologize. It's just how things have worked out ultimately. But guys, thank you so much for watching and for listening to this podcast for so many the past few years. And I'm looking forward to wrapping all this up on a high note. So anyway, enjoy the last football episode of the MMG podcast. Welcome to episode 57 of the MMG podcast. I am Chris, and I am joined once again by my good friend, Go Cubs 711.
Today, I'm going to read a list from 1,200 nicknames for Waluigi. A list from it, not the entire list, but I'm going to read numbers 596 through 615. Okay?
Yeah.
The man in black in purple. The purple dress. Wah, Rio. Overrated. The purple angle. Mr. Purple Theme. Dick Laster. Waluigi board. The Purple Fact, Mr. Purple Place, Waluigi, Mr. Purple Low, Mr. Purple Fruit, what I call pod racing, Mr. Purple Letters, the Purple Prince, the Purple Mind, the Purple Bag, Mr. Purple Pen, and the Purple People Greeter.
The one that disturbed me the most was Waluigi.
Yeah.
I did not like that.
You can find the list at thehardtimes.net.
Oh God, the hard times. That website is slowly creeping into my life, and now I feel like I have to follow it soon.
I've followed the Hard Drive, the video game one.
Oh, okay. What's the hard times?
The Hard Times is the non-video game, is the regular one.
And and they had Waluigi on that one?
Well, it's the same website.
Oh, okay.
They just tweeted it out on the Hard Drive.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. So, all right.
We're not going to talk about that right now. Let's talk about football.
Yes. So as you may see on the screen, there's two words that I was kind of going in this direction, but wanted to kind of ease into. But you might have seen an update from me already. You may not have, but the MMG podcast is going to be ending in the next episode. But for now, this is going to be the last episode of our football podcast. I mean, it would be our last one till the fall anyway. But it's going to be the last one under this name, and it's going to be the last one under this format. Because I'm looking to do a little bit of rebranding, changing of my channel, and potentially transferring over to a new channel, or we'll figure out the future stuff for now. But
whatever ends up happening. But
I think that I have a lot of ideas of how I want to approach this podcast moving forward. And I think the best way to do that is make it a football only podcast, and maybe add other do other things, like make other podcasts that are dedicated to other topics. But me and Go Cubs, we will be back in the fall, whether it's on this channel or another, or it might even be in your ears on another platform as well. Who knows? But we will be going under a different name. And yeah, it is a slightly sad day. It's not because nothing's really nothing bad's happening for the most part, but it is the end of the MMG podcast as we know it. So enjoy this episode, and the next episode we have a lot of fun and exciting things planned for that. Just I guess a brief summary of what's going to happen. Lots of E3 talk. That'll be our focus for that.
Yep.
So with that being said, today's episode of the MMG podcast, as it is our football finale, we're gonna go through and talk about all the teams, and we're gonna talk about what we think is gonna happen for the 2019 NFL season, how we think the teams are gonna do this year, what we think of their off season, and all of that, and maybe we'll touch on some NFL news that has happened more universally. But yeah, we're gonna just talk today. We're gonna just talk and relax. Maybe not really any predictions, nothing crazy. Just seeing what's gonna be happening with all 32 teams. So, Gokas, would you like to add anything about this podcast or any notes about today's episode? Anything like that?
Not in general. This has been one of my just favorite things to do over the past however many fucking years we've been doing this. At least 3.
This was your second full season doing it.
Second full season doing NFL, but even before that, when we were doing Survivor and Big Brother as well, which
Absolutely.
was probably 2015.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm excited to see if we can take this to another level, because this is a very fun thing to do, and everyone should have a podcast before they're 30.
I agree. I 100% agree. We gotta follow the business model. We gotta figure it out and work towards it. So yeah, let's dive in. So the way we're gonna do this is that Goku is gonna roll a D8 because we're nerds and we have Dungeons and Dragons on our minds. And he's gonna roll a D8, and whatever number shows up, we're gonna talk about the teams in that division. First. Yes.
I could also roll a D4 for the team.
Sure. All
right. So D8 is Division 3.
Division 3 is the AFC East.
Okay, and then Team 3.
That is the Buffalo Bills.
All right, starting off strong.
Yes.
All right.
So, would you like to start with this one?
You can start.
All right. So the Buffalo Bills this off season, I personally think that they got better. I do
too.
I think that I think there's still I think the jury's still out on Josh Allen. I think down the stretch he played well, but I think there's still accuracy questions with him. Well, he is the franchise future, and I don't know. I think that this team, they added so many freaking free agents. It's insane the amount of people that they have on this roster now. They added John Brown and Cole Beasley to their wide receiver core. They also brought in Kevin Johnson from Houston. They now have Frank Gore in the backfield with LaShawn McCoy and T.J. Yeldon as well, an old Jacksonville Jaguar fellow. They added a bunch to their offensive line as well. I forgot who they drafted Ed Oliver. I mean, out of Houston, which
I think is a great pick.
It's a great pick. I mean, I think that there was years where Ed Oliver was projected to be a number 1 overall pick whenever he came out. So the fact that the Bills got him, there could be a lot of strong. That could be a very strong addition for them, moving forward. I guess I think the team's biggest loss, honestly, was just Kyle Williams, who retired this offseason. But I don't know. I don't think this Buffalo Bills team regressed at all, and I think that no one's gonna say division, but it's
The Bills will get second place.
I think they have a strong case for second place.
That's what the AFC East is right now. Like, who's going to get second place? And depending on how the rest of the AFC turns out, I think the AFC is a really, really strong conference throughout, particularly in the North and the South, and a couple teams in the West. Like, the AFC East sucks, but the the Buffalo Bills have are I think the most likely team to dethrone the Patriots within a few years.
Sure,
not saying they will or that anyone will, but
yeah, I agree with that. I think that they have. I mean, because you saw a little bit of bits and pieces last year where they would win games that you just never expected. I remember they played. I think the closest game that they had in the season, or one of their closest games, was against the Patriots. It was really like they had these moments where they kind of show out. They have a lot of talent in that secondary. We pointed to it a few years ago. It was definitely great. Kind of regressed last year, but the talent's there. I don't know. I think that this could be really strong. I think Tremaine Edmonds, their first round draft pick from 2018, like he could. I think that he could be a breakout star potentially for that defense. There's a lot of options there. I think they could be really good.
We'll see. I'm going to do a quick fantasy outlook for each team too, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no worries. Go for it.
For fantasy on the Bills, don't. Josh Allen may be like a very late round quarterback ad who could get you a lot of points, but and LaShawn McCoy may be valuable, but now they have a crowded backfield, including the Infinity Stone of Frank Gore.
Right.
He is infinite. He is Gore.
Yeah.
So. Avoid the Bills, except for maybe McCoy, and Josh Allen should be fine.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so you want to stay within division, I think, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Our next team is number 4.
All right, so that is the New York Jets.
Okay.
Do you want to take this one to start out with?
Yeah, sure. I'll start out with it. The New York Jets added Le'Veon Bell, who some people say is the best running back in the game right now. I'm not sure if that's the case after being off for a year, but he's definitely a lot of talent, and this is going to help their offense. However, there is some and Sam Darnold will step up in. I think that as most second-year quarterbacks do, Sam Darnold will take a step up. Their defense is about as good as it has been, and they still have Robbie Anderson, who could have a pretty good year.
Yeah.
However, their front office is in turmoil because they fired their fucking general manager, who made the moves to get their current team in place, and put Adam Gase, who has not proven that he can do anything as a leader, in charge of everything, which is very questionable, and Le'Veon Bell might get traded before the season starts.
I don't think that's happening anymore. I think that those rumors were squashed by Gase a little bit afterwards, but
I don't trust Adam Gase to do the right thing with his talent.
I know. I think it's fair. I think that there is fair criticism to levy on Gase, especially I think his tenure with the Dolphins. He had he butted heads with a lot of players. He butted heads with there's some rumors about butting heads with the front office. I mean, he's not a guy that is easy to work with, and now it's already played out a little bit in New York, where they let Mike McCagnon go through the free agency period and go through the draft, and then fired him afterwards. Which it's not like that's the time to fire a general manager is now, because it's the fact that the scouting season restarts and you're looking for talent restarts essentially after the draft, and if you roll with a new front office, they have an entire year to prepare. You're not going to fire them, and they're guaranteed to basically survive throughout the season and heading into the off season. So it's the ideal time to do it. The problem is the fact that they kept him on for as long as they did, and because I felt like McCagnon deserved a lot of heat for some of the picks that he's made. I think Exhibit A is the Christian Hackenberg pick. That
Yes.
was awful, and he deserves to be scrutinized for it. And then there's Darren Lee, who ended up being traded the moment that he got fired to the Chiefs. He was a first-round draft pick, so there's a lot about his legacy that is not was not going to be lasting with the Jets, and he should have gone sooner. I think that's a very fair criticism of the Jets. But as for the team, that's what matters right now. I think that if Gase can at all coach, and we saw it in his first year with the Dolphins, with that team that did not have a ton of talent, they made it to the playoffs. I think this team, one that has a good amount of talent, with the exception of not really having a strong offensive line at the moment and a second cornerback rather, to really claim that as their own right now. Outside of those little holes, this is a team that I think could win a good amount of games. I don't know. I think that the Bills might have them topped right now, but I think there's a potential there for the Jets to really succeed. So I'm not.
I think the Jets' potential could have been more realized without Gase.
I think so too. I
Yeah.
never was a fan of the hire. I felt like it was very. They kind of saw what he did with the Dolphins and maybe that one season, and they were
But
like, "Bring him on."
he joined the Jets to take down the Patriots, something he failed to do after 3 years in the same division.
Yeah, basically, yeah. You have to top them in New England, not in Miami. You got to figure out a way to do that. All right. So what's next? Patriots or Dolphins?
That's gonna be number 2.
All right. So that's gonna be the Dolphins.
All right.
Do you want to take this one?
Um.
I'll do it. I'll start.
Yeah, you'll do it.
Miami.
Let's alternate.
Miami is a franchise in transition. I think they've started to realize that their roster is just not at that point of contention, and that they're going to kind of tank this year. They won't use that phrase, and they'll probably attempt to win a few games. And I think in the quest to tank, they may actually win some games, because guess who they have at quarterback? None other than Fitzmagic, and a guy that is going to be a good veteran to have around. And I don't know, I feel like it just makes the team more exciting. I'm more excited about this year's Miami Dolphins team than I was last year, because it has Fitzmagic as the quarterback.
Who do you think's going to start, though? Fitzmagic or Rosen?
Well, that's going to be the question. So then the big news that happened during the draft was that Josh Rosen, who was going to be the Cardinals' future, got traded, and he is now going to be potentially the future for Miami. I think that there's some people are saying, well, they're going to give him a year, and maybe if they don't see it, they'll draft a quarterback high next year. And they got good value for him, so it's not like they're not taking a lot of risk with having him on the roster, and that is great because he could be a franchise quarterback. I think they're playing their cards very well. So
yeah, I agree.
I don't know. I don't know right now who's gonna start. I think I could totally see it where Fitzmagic maybe starts a few games in the beginning, and then Rosen takes over. Or if Rosen plays an entire season, I think the question is going to be, though, can he survive this offensive line, which is not as bad as the Cardinals was last year, but it's pretty still bad. And that was a big problem that kind of hindered his play last year as well. Any thoughts on the roster at all, or on the team as a whole at the moment?
Not really anything else. I realized I forgot to give my fantasy outlook for the Jets, so I will do that.
Okay.
Le'Veon Bell, obviously, he's going to be good for you.
Yeah.
Not if he ends up being a first round pick, I would not jump on him. But if he falls to the second round, then yes, absolutely. Maybe late first round, but that's just me. And then Robbie Anderson will be fine for you, but he's probably going to be a 6th or 7th round pick. You need to expect some not good weeks from him, though. And then Sam Darnold, there are so many other quarterbacks, you don't need Sam Darnold.
Fair enough.
For the Dolphins, if you draft a receiver from the Dolphins, I'm coming to your house and I am deleting your fantasy football profile. Kenny Drake is going to be a good running back, I think. We'll see if Adam Gase not using him was just a dumb Adam Gase thing, or if Kenny Drake actually isn't good. Kalen Ballage could see some use as well. I hope he does because he's on my dynasty team. But Kenny Drake is really the only one that you're going to be interested in the Dolphins.
I think Kenny Drake. I mean, he was one of the main players in the Miami Miracle last year. But I don't know. I think that he is going to be a potential star for this team. I think he's going to be important this year. I think they need to keep him around and do well by him. I think that the leading receivers are going to be Stills and Parker. I mean, for some reason they kept Parker around still.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that kind of comes to fruition. Albert Wilson's also on the team. And there's also Dwayne Allen and Mike Gesicki on the tight end. So I mean, they have what you would call weapons, but they're not great weapons. And
they're not great weapons, and they haven't shown that they know how to use them.
Yeah, I think one unit that will be good for the Dolphins this year, I think it's going to be the secondary. I think Xavier Howard, combined with Rashad Jones and Minka Fitzpatrick, I think those are all going to be. That's going to be a pretty solid secondary. So that might cause some problems. And I mean, I think the defense as a whole could potentially do well, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done. They no longer have Kyrie Wake, but they do have Christian Wilkins, the best Clemson player last year. I enjoyed him a lot.
Yes.
All right. Last but not least, on the AFC East, the Patriots.
Yes, the Patriots. Oh, how they will not fall from glory, as I so daringly predicted last year. Fuck, dude.
Yeah.
There's no, like, Gronk is gone, but they actually have receivers they didn't have last year. They have an excellent run game through Sony Michel, James White, and the guy they just drafted.
N'Keal Harry.
Harris?
N'Keal Harry.
No, well, at wide receiver, I'm talking about running back.
Oh, running back, Damian Harris.
Damian Harris, yeah. They added N'Keal Harry. They got Damian Harris. Like, they are primed to run that offense through their backfield, and then have Tom Brady make the clutch throws that he always makes because he's Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Yeah. Patriots are going to win the division again this year because the rest of their division is trash. I don't know how well they'll do in the postseason, but probably good because they've been to the Super Bowl the past 3 goddamn years because the AFC can't do shit.
If there is anything to be worried about the New England Patriots this year, I think I know that you just talked about how many weapons they have, but I at least on the running back front, but I am worried about their tight end situation. As we know, Mr. Gronk is no longer with the team. And so I look at the depth that they have, and they added Benjamin Watson, who is going to be out the first 4 games. You got Safari Jenkins, but he hasn't really shined since he was with the Jets.
No.
It's just not.
The Vikings are going to trade Kyle Rudolph.
Well, that would be very sad. That's going to be a very sad day for me. The day that happens. Yeah. But if he goes to the Patriots, if he goes anywhere else, then I'll be like, all right, interesting. But if it goes to the Patriots, I'm like, oh, fuck. But I would also look at the receiving corps because I know they have Edelman. I know that N'Keal Harry has a lot of talent. I look at the depth of everywhere else in the wide receiver group, and I just don't see it. I don't see the other guy that's going to stand out. I mean, Demaryius Thomas maybe, but he's up there in age.
Yeah.
I don't know if I trust that right now.
It's better than the receiving core they had last year before the season.
It may
Not that that's a very high standard, but
I felt like you had a guy like Chris Hogan on the team that was pretty guaranteed to be a big impact. I don't know. Maybe you're right. I know that the offense just generally I'm gonna worry about it tipping off because regardless of what anyone says about Tom Brady, and I'll give him the fact that he's an ageless wonder and that he'll probably be playing for a long time still. And he has proven that he could play at this age. I just know that when you are at the age that he's at, that it's not. There at some point, usually there is a drop off, and I don't want to say that. I don't want to guarantee the fact that he's going to be completely okay for all 16 games. I would like to see him keep on doing this and keep on being healthy and keep on, being. Because I just don't see him being able to do this consistently.
the age of Hoyer will soon be upon us.
It may very well be, or the guy from Auburn that they drafted, maybe.
Yeah.
But I'm not to doubt Tom Brady. I'm just doubting quarterbacks that are above the age of 40, because at some point there usually is something that happens where your body just can't keep going. And I know he wants to push himself, but you never know. You never know what could happen with him. So that's the Patriots. Roll for the next division.
Next division is number 5.
Number 5 is the NFC North.
Okay.
Give me.
And team 1.
Well, I would give this to you, Go Cubs. The Bears.
The Chicago Bears. The Bears didn't season because they did all their shit last offseason.
Yeah, they really did not actually do anything.
No, they really didn't. Obviously, I think the biggest free agent signing was HaHa Clinton-Dix, which has had a great start to his career. Didn't do so well this past year, but I think in the Bears defensive system, he'll be able to shine again. The Bears defense is going to dominate everybody this year.
Yeah. I mean, I think that you got Chuck Pagano now as your defensive coordinator. It's very interesting.
I am very happy with that because I knew that Vic Fangio was going to get a head coaching job somewhere, but Chuck Pagano is a very good replacement.
Yeah,
I'm very happy with that. Fantasy outlook for the Patriots. It's running backs and wide receivers, you'll be fine with all of them, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Back to Bears. Really biggest rookie signing was David Montgomery, who is going to have the opportunity to be a stud, I think, and get used a lot in this offense, and help do what they wanted Jordan Howard to do, but Jordan Howard just couldn't do. And with the year 2 in Matt Nagy's system, I think Trubisky is going to take a very big step forward and find a lot of success this year. The Bears are, in my opinion, Super Bowl contenders.
I think so. I agree with that. I think it was expected that Jordan Howard was going to be moved. It still kind of stunned me just because I felt like he still has a lot in him, but
he had a lot in him, and they got so little in return for him.
That's another fair point. I think that Cohen's going to be the lead back, but David Montgomery's going to try to fill the void that Jordan Howard has kind of left open.
Yes.
And I think that's going to be a good point. I think that this is a year that Trubisky does not have many excuses, barring injury.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that he has a lot of great talent in him, and I think that he has shown in a lot of parts of his game that he can be a very good quarterback, especially with the talent around him. I still don't think if he's locked in to be the Bears guy. And I don't think that we've gotten to the point where we've reached Trubisky hype season or anything like that. I would like to see that this year. I would like to see him continue to grow as a player to be I don't even think he needs to be a superstar. I think he needs just to get to the point where he's just making play after play, and it could be with the help of the roster that's there. So that's my big thing. The defense, I have no questions about. I think the offensive line has a lot more talent than people give it credit for, and I think the receivers and running backs, I think that you have enough depth there that I just have to see it for Trubisky.
It is such a deep group of wide receivers too.
Sure.
Like you have three great wide receivers at the top with Sin and Anthony Miller and Taylor Gabriel. You added some in the draft with Riley Ridley, and brought in Cordell Patterson, who can do a lot of things.
Yeah,
like it is a deep group.
Patterson could double as a running back. I mean, he's
double as a running back.
He did it a lot during the game against the Bears last year when he was with the Patriots. Yeah. So yeah, I think that everything could work, and I have faith in Matt Nagy a lot, and it's just my big question mark is going to be Trubisky, and I really hope that he proves that he can be the franchise guy moving forward. As I'm sure a lot of guys are hoping.
I know this is brought up a lot, but he did not start a lot in college.
Yeah.
So he, compared to Watson and Mahomes, who are the same draft class as him, he's definitely the worst of the three, but he's also played less football than the other two have.
Right.
So, yeah. So that's another thing to keep in mind. I think he's at the point where he needs to step up and be the quarterback. But maybe the reason why he didn't take the extreme step forward last year was he was still getting used to things. But Matt Nagy did great things last year. Mm-hmm. Got them to the fucking playoffs for the first time.
Yeah.
First time in 8 years.
Yeah.
It's a good change, and this stability moving forward. Not much changed for them. So the stability moving forward is going to be good.
Yeah, and let's hope that they go with Eddie Pinheiro as the kicker and not Chris Blewett.
Yeah, look, you can't have a name like Blewett. I don't care how good of a kicker you can't being an NFL kicker is the worst possible profession if your last name is Blewett.
I mean, there has to be a stage name or something he can go with to not have that be his name.
How did you follow this life path?
Yeah, that's it. There's a lot of questions there. All right, what's next? What's next to talk about?
All right, next is it keeps going number 1, number 4.
All right, is Detroit. The Lions are your Patriots North. And when I say that, I don't mean in quality. I just mean that there's a lot of fucking Patriots on this team.
Yes. Bears fantasy. Go with David Tariq. Montgomery over Cohen. Trubisky could work. Wide receivers, you'll need to take a shot on them just because they're going to share a lot of time, but you won't be upset with them at the price you're getting them. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine. So. With the Patriots, you got Trey Flowers now on defense. You got Danny Amendola, as well, as part of the wide receiver core. You got
head coach, obviously Matt Patricia.
Head coach is Matt Patricia. So there's a lot of Patriots infusion happening on this team, but the big thing overall is that this team, I think on paper, is better, and I think that there is an argument to be made that they could make some waves here and there, but I don't know. I think that the big problem for this team is that it's lacking. It's gonna lack behind the 3 other teams that maybe look stronger on paper right now. I don't know. I think the only team that you could maybe compare it to and maybe put ahead of I think it's the Packers, honestly, but I just don't I don't know. This is a tough road for the Lions to be on at the moment where they.
It is. It's also weird the fact that the Lions are like trying to now advertise themselves as one of the run first teams in the league,
Mm,
which is wild considering since Barry Sanders, the Lions have historically been one of the worst rushing teams in the league.
right.
But they have the talent now with their offense coordinator and with Kerryon Johnson that I think that they have the ability to do this for the first time
Sure.
since Barry Sanders, and it's going to be interesting to see what they can do. I don't think they have like a stellar defense. Kenny Galladay is good enough as the lead wide receiver. Marvin Jones, if he stays healthy, can be fine. But Matthew Stafford had a terrible year last year, and and if and I don't know how he's going to like fit in this system. And if that's not quite what I meant, but like if he will be able to uh come back from just how poorly he played last year.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of questions around Stafford right now. I would be curious to see if he ends up becoming like he has to really solidify himself again as the starting quarterback for the Lions. I feel because I feel like they've been just such mediocrity for a while that it just he needs to reprove himself as a good quarterback. And
Especially in the division he's in with Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, Mitch Trubisky. Not
right,
that I'm not calling Trubisky an elite quarterback, but he's a good quarterback.
sure, I think
And Matthew Stafford does not fall into the good category after last year.
sure. I think that the offensive line is pretty nice, and I mean they added a nice weapon in T.J. Hawkinson. I think that could
Yeah.
go to distance for them, but
Mhm.
there's a lot of questions around their quarterback, and I think that their defense really needs to step up. But I mean, Damon Harrison was one of the best interior defensive linemen. And he has been for a while, but certainly with the Lions last year, it helped. They need like a leap from their linebackers this year. They need to have a good year. And now getting rid of Glover Quinn, they have to rely on Darius Slay as a quarterback. And I mean, and they have other people there too, but it's just there's talent on this team. It just I don't know if it's going to be enough to compete against three other teams. And when you're competing against three other teams in your division, it's very tough to see yourself winning a ton of games or at least making the playoffs when you're in such a competitive division. So it's tough to be
Yeah.
Lions right now.
In terms of fantasy outlook, I am targeting Kerryon Johnson. Like I want him on my teams.
Yeah.
I think that Marvin Jones could be a good flyer. Kenny Galladay, he'll be fine at your pick. Stay away from Stafford. Hawkinson, I'm not sure how well he'll do because he's a rookie tight end, and rookie tight ends usually don't perform as much. I think he has a good chance of doing something, but don't trust him to like be a reliable tight end for you this year.
Sure. All right.
And our next victim is number 2.
Minnesota Vikings.
So the Minnesota Vikings were Super Bowl contenders last year at the start of the season. And then they kind of just didn't anymore.
Yeah.
They had some troubles. They had to fire their offensive coordinator and John DeFilippo, and they just went through some issues. It'll be interesting to see what they do this year. See if Kirk Cousins has found his way. If he was worth the money they paid for him. See what Dalvin Cook can do. See if he can overcome his injuries, and see if their defense can be the top form that it has been in the past.
Yeah, I'm not gonna add too much more to that. I think that overall this roster is still very good. I think the only big question is gonna be what's the future for Kyle Rudolph. Is he gonna be there? I think that's gonna be a big question. I think on the rest of the fronts, it's just this team's offensive line I think is gonna end up being better. I think the defense is going to be really good. So I don't know. I think the Vikings have a really good shot at winning the division. I know that's
If any team other than the Bears is, it's going to be the Vikings.
I think so. I think that they overall have a really solid roster. The big question is Dalvin Cook needs to have a good year too.
He needs to.
He is the last 2 years have just been injury riddled and also just not has not been performing to the best ability. So
yeah, Dalvin Cook and Kirk Cousins, both need to have a good year this year.
Yep. All right.
For fantasy, you'll be fine taking Dalvin Cook. I would take him at the start of the second round. I've seen Adam Thielen go like middle second round. That seems a little too high for me.
Yeah.
He was a fantastic receiver to start the year last year, not to end the year. So, buy into that however much you want. If he falls to like the late second, I would take a shot on him.
Sure.
Stephon Diggs is probably going to go in the third round. That's fine for him, I think. And then pass on Kyle Rudolph this year unless he goes to another team.
Next up, the Green Bay Packers finally have a new. We did everyone in the NFC North, I believe.
Wait, we have an update on the Matt Watch.
Okay.
Packers head coach Matt LaFleur. By the way, welcome to Matt Watch. It's a segment where I talk about players and coaches named Matt. Update. Coach Matt LaFleur tears his ACL while working out at Lambeau.
I think he actually tore his Achilles. Not
his Achilles. That's it. Usually a career ender. But since he is not a player, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
This has been the end of Matt Watch.
Okay. Thank you for the update. Well, as he said, it's a new era with Matt LaFleur at head coach. So it's gonna be interesting to see how he meshes with Aaron Rodgers.
I still don't know how I feel about the hire.
I'm okay with it. I think
that I'm actually happy for it in the sense that I'm a Bears fan.
Sure.
If I'm being honest, because what really has he done? Like he was good with the Rams, but then look what he did with the Titans.
Yeah, I think that the Titans
offense was bad,
but I don't think it was the Titans' fault. I feel like that team was filled with injuries. I think that was a big concern for the Titans last year. I think that was a big thing that held them back. So I don't know. I'm not gonna say whether or not.
Well, congrats, Matt LaFleur. You go to another offense that's dealt with injuries.
Yeah, I mean we'll see what he can do. I think that it's questionable. You know, Devontae Adams is your number one. It's questionable who the number 2 wide receiver is going to be. Maybe Geronimo Allison of Illinois fame. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
You know,
that's going to be a big question mark who that number 2 is.
I mean, there's a question about who the number 1 running back is going to be because I know that Aaron Jones has shown every once in a while, but he's been suspended a few times, and I just don't know if he's really proven to be a great running back. Jamal Williams has flashes here and there. They drafted Dexter Williams, but I don't know.
I think Aaron Jones will go into the season being number 1.
Yeah.
But you don't know if he's going to keep it or not. Like Aaron Jones, when he's playing, he's a pretty good running back, but
yeah,
I don't know if he'll be able to keep it over.
You have Jimmy Graham still at tight end, but I mean, I think a big fault of the team last year was not using him enough. But even when they did use him, he wasn't playing amazingly. I feel like he's near a tail end of his career, and I just don't know if he's going to be playing at a high enough level for them. And then the defense is just always a big question mark because as good as the players end up being around that team, like the depth on that roster, they end up just being big disappointments. So I honestly, I think there is an argument there that the Packers have the worst roster of the NFC North.
Yeah, I could definitely agree. Like Aaron Rodgers bumps up the roster, but you take him, like Devontae Adams is there. Devontae Adams is a great wide receiver, but you have no one recognizable on defense. They don't have Clay Matthews anymore.
I mean, Mike Daniels, he's had a good solid year, and I mean they signed Zadarius Smith because they felt like he had a good 2018, which he did, but is that going to show up for another year? I mean, he hasn't really shown it before. I don't know. I think the secondary maybe will step up this time, but their first round draft pick and or their second round draft pick and Josh Jackson from 2017 is already looking for a freaking trade. You know, it's weird. It's a very weird time for this Packers team. And I just, with Aaron Rodgers at the helm, they can still be a playoff team. I don't think that this is a team that I could see going terribly deep on its own, though. It's just, I think there is an argument to be made there about the Packers this year. All right, next up, what division?
Next division is going to be Division, which let me take a guess. NFC West.
Wait, what number was it?
4.
AFC
No,
West.
I did the math wrong. Okay, continue.
AFC West is going to be the next one. Yes. And what team is it going to be that we're going to talk about?
It's going to be Team 2.
The Chargers. So Los Angeles they're kind of in the similar boat to, I would say, the Bears, in the sense that they didn't have to add too much this offseason because their roster as a whole is pretty good on its own. I think the big concern for them going into the year is going to be their offensive line, and can those players step up? But that was a big question last year, and they ended up just fine. So, I think that's a reoccurring question. They did lose a weapon in Tyrell Williams, but
they still have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, which I think
Mike Williams has stepped up recently. So I think that you have a really solid shot there. And then some people that kind of left the secondary too, but I mean, some of those guys were just injured and not really around, and they still played fine. And of course, you have Derwin James, who's going to keep on, or not Derwin James?
Yeah, I think it's Derwin James.
Yeah, he's going to keep on getting better at his position as well. So
they're also getting Hunter Henry back, tight end, who they didn't have last year due to an ACL tear.
That's true. And I mean, they had him for one game, but that one game was a very, very tough showing against New England.
Oh, yes.
So, I don't know. I think that this team, there is a lot of... I think they're going to be in the conversation for contention. And we'll see how far they can go with what they have at the moment. I think that's all I have to say about the Chargers.
Pretty much the same for me. I didn't give I keep forgetting the fantasy stuff.
We don't have to give it. I mean, I think that we're kind of deep in right now.
That's true. I think that the Chargers are going to be a good team again, and I actually think that with seeing with how they are, and another team in the division not doing so great for this offseason, they have a chance to take the division, I think.
I agree. I think that they're the best team in the division at the moment, for sure.
At the moment, yep.
What's next?
That was also... Ooh, that's a 4. It's Oakland Raiders.
The Raiders. So I think you could start this for Oakland.
Yeah, so the Oakland Raiders came out or at some point said that, we want to build a winning culture in our locker room with high just good guys, high class guys, and then they sign Antonio Brown and Vontae's perfect and kind of just have a go to shit. They're definitely in a better place than they were last year. And Derek Carr had with these new weapons of Antonio Brown, who some people consider to be the best wide receiver in the league, and Tyrell Williams from the Chargers, they will take a step up. And Josh Jacobs adding to that, adding at running back, he's going to be the best rookie running back this year, I think, just because opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
But they did a lot last year in trading away players for draft capital, and I'm not sure if they totally totally capitalized on it in the way that they could have. They had 3 first-round picks. Their the fourth overall pick that they had, they did not use wisely, and could have gotten that player later, Pharrell, later, and like gotten like Josh Jacobs or not Josh Jacobs. They got Josh Jacobs, Josh Allen,
right?
With that pick instead. So there's still a lot of confusing things that I think the Raiders are doing, and I'm not sure if that's going to dig them out of their hole just yet.
Yeah, I'm a little confused about the way that they're doing things, because they talked, like you nailed it on the head. They talk about culture change with Clelin Ferrell being drafted, and he's supposed to be this guy that's supposed to turn things around, and be this leader for this team and kind of show what the Raiders want in a player. And then they get guys like Incognito signed, and Perfect, and Brown, who has been a superstar, but his cards have been shown that he's really not that nice of a guy.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how this locker room is going to work. And then you have a guy like Derek Carr, who could be reassured that they didn't really target a quarterback after all, as much as people thought they could have. But I don't know. There's a lot of questions as to whether he could be the future for this team. And I think that the fact that those questions are out there kind of gives him a little bit of uneasiness of it. I think there's just so much, like, there's improvements on this team, but I don't see them winning a lot still. Because I just think the nature of this team at the moment is just not, it's not strong on the field. And I just think it goes back to the fact that why are you hiring a guy in Gruden who I feel like is past his time as a coach, and what have we seen thus far that says he's going to keep on being this evolutionary guy and making things amazing? Like he might have a few great games in him, but I just don't see it being a consistent thing. I don't know. I just don't really love this Raiders team. I want to avoid them at all costs, to be honest. Yep. All right, what are 3?
Next one is going to be number 1.
All right, so the Kansas City Chiefs. It has been a rough off season for them. Lost a lot. Lost a lot of their defensive players, partly by choice. They did trade away one of their players, one of the key players that made an impact on the stretch. And I'm really blanking on his fucking name at the moment. Apparently,
Eric Berry,
D Ford. They traded D Ford to the Niners. They traded him away. They released Eric Berry. They got rid of Justin Houston, and that team is kind of starting from scratch a little bit on defense. I mean, they got Frank Clark now in there. There's just something about the Chiefs. And I'm just gonna pick up Patrick Mahomes and put him to the side, because we know what Patrick Mahomes can do. He's a very talented human being, and I think that he could carry this Chiefs team the distance. I think this team will still contend. Nothing about that, but there's something about the Chiefs and the way that they've been handling these issues that have come across them, where they have a guy like Kareem Hunt, who the minute that this video comes out about him doing those things, that he gets released, and they send out a statement that they say they would not tolerate this stuff, and they send him on his way. And then since then, they've had they had another incident with their even more star player, Tyreek Hill, who supposedly abused his child awfully, and he's still on the roster for whatever reason, and they are still trying to figure out, even though there's audio evidence of him basically admitting to whatever the whatever the hell things that he did. And then you have a guy like Frank Clark who gets signed, who has a history of domestic abuse, or gets traded for. I think that, I don't agree with him always, but the Mike Florio Pro Football Talk, I think, said it best. The thing about second chances is that you're giving another chance to a guy who did wrong, and not giving that opportunity to someone who's always done right with their lives, and not giving them an opportunity. That's one roster spot that those good people out there are not going to get, because this guy who is an asshole is a more talented player, and that's really the only reason why they're getting it. And so there's a culture issue with the Chiefs, and I love Andy Reid, but I think there's blood on his hands with this one, as is with the rest of the Chiefs team.
There might be a thing where like they didn't see Kareem Hunt as necessary to their chances of winning, so they could get rid of him.
There might.
Damian Williams was good enough, and run like in Andy Reid, in the way Andy Reid runs his offenses, anyone who's the running back one is going to be a stud. It's not the same with Tyreek Hill as a wide receiver, because Patrick Mahomes, in order to be Mahomes, he needs someone to throw to. Travis Kelce is going to be his number one target, but Kelce's a tight end, and he's not going to be able to get downfield the way that Tyreek was able to.
Sure.
That's just a fact. That's not a thing that can happen. They drafted was it Mecole Hardman, who like a lot of people think could replace Tyreek Hill, but we don't know that for sure. It's going to be rough for the Chiefs. Tyrann Mathieu was really the only big free agent I think they signed, who will make an impact on the team. Otherwise, the Chiefs had a terrible offseason for a team that in every sense of the word should be a Super Bowl contender.
I think you got. Clark, I can shit on him on for who he is as a human being. He has talent, and there's a reason why they traded for him. Agba had Emmanuel Agba, who was also traded to the team. He had some great moments with Cleveland. Alex Okafor was a mainstay for the Saints for a little bit of time. I don't know what Darren Lee is going to do. So there's elements of this defense that could work. I don't know. There's things there, but I don't really see this. I don't see this defense as a major upgrade over last year.
Yeah, and last year's was atrocious. Everyone knew that. Like the Chiefs, you just had to fix your defense.
Yeah.
And not have any of your players do illegal shit, and you were gonna run away with the league, and they couldn't do that.
Yeah, it's been
it's upsetting for Chiefs fans who overcame one curse last year, but now have so many others.
And I feel bad for Patrick Mahomes, who, as far as we know, has been a great human being, and as well as a great football player. And I can only hope. If I'm rooting for the Chiefs next year, it's gonna be because of him. And I think that he is that powerful of a player now in this league, and I think that he's just that much fun to watch. So we'll see how it goes. And last but not least, the Denver Broncos.
The Broncos. I am avoiding this offense. I do not want to talk about them. Look, Joe Flacco and Case Keenum have almost identical stats, so this is not an upgraded quarterback for the Broncos. Drew Lock is not going to start for them either. Flacco will definitely take the reins and then be outshined by a rookie quarterback for the second year in a row. But Joe Flacco is going to start. They have capable running backs in Phillip Lindsay and Royce Freeman. I believe that, and I think that the wide receiver talent they have in Courtland Sutton, possibly Emmanuel Sanders if he's able to recover. I doubt it with his age and the type of injury it was, and with Deshaun Hamilton.
He's had moments.
Yeah, he's had moments, and I know the fantasy community is kind of into him. But I honestly I don't see this offense doing much of anything right now. Just given their personnel and how much I like expect from them, I'm avoiding them. Their defense is going to be much, especially with Vic Fangio and led by Von Miller, who I think is a fantastic defensive player and just has had some off years.
Oh, hot take.
Yeah.
No, No, it's not. I think that I think the no, I agree. I mean, I think this defense is a Super Bowl caliber defense. I think it's
It is.
that good.
It honestly is, and it's going to get even better with Fangio. But I'm not sure if the offense is going to be able to uh is going to be able to take that step up to what the defense needs to be. You can have a great defense,
Mm.
but if your offense sucks, you're not going to get anywhere. Hence Jacksonville from last year.
Yeah, I mean, the one X factor I think for this offense is going to be their first round draft pick and Noah Fant. I mean, I want to see what he does out of the gate for this team. But I think the secondary is going to work out for them. I think they have a lot of great players there still. Um, I think that you have a linebacking core that's going to be led by Miller and Chubb. Chubb's going to have a potential making the leap year there, and I don't know. I think that this team is gonna it's gonna win games on their defensive side. The big question is going to be offense. I don't think Flacco. If you ignore the stats, I think that Flacco had a decent start to the year, regardless of the injury that happened to him afterwards. That kind of kept him on the bench throughout the rest of the year. So I'm not. I feel like I have more hope with Flacco at center than I would Keenum. Now knowing what I know about Keenum. Now last year when Keenum was there, I kind of had some hope for them because I thought that Keenum he had a great year with Minnesota. That didn't end up panning out, but I don't know. I think that Flacco is a different story because he had been a franchise quarterback for so long. So I don't know. I'm not going to give up hope on that front. So we'll see. I think this team could be better. I don't know how far they will go, but I could see them being second place in this division. I would not be surprised about that.
Yeah.
So
we'll see.
Next up, roll the dice. What's the next division?
Our next division is that was number 4 again. Number 6.
Number 6 is the NFC South.
Oh yes, I'm very excited.
All right, who are we rolling?
All right. First up, number 3.
Number 3 is the Panthers.
I'm ready.
Go for it.
Can I take them?
Go ahead.
Panthers were a playoff team last year until Cam Newton lost a shoulder, and then they weren't. They lost some talent on offensive line, which with Matt Khalil, and then one more that I can't. But overall, I don't think their team really changed that much. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It didn't change a lot. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't say that they were really a playoff roster as a whole, though, in my opinion. But you go ahead.
Look at how well they started the year last year.
Yeah, I would make the argument that because I didn't see it last year when it started, and they had a good start. You're absolutely right. I think Thomas Davis is going to be a loss for this team.
Yeah.
I think that Ryan Khalil is going to be a huge loss for this team. I think Julius Peppers is a huge loss for this team.
Okay.
Their best wide receiver last year was Devin Funchess, and he's gone. You know.
Okay. Yeah, but I think DJ Moore will be a better receiver for the team than Funchess was. And Curtis Samuel had some really nice flashes to him that I think those two combined with how good of a player McCaffrey is, and with Greg Olsen, who hasn't had the best last couple of years, but is still there, and I think can produce. I think that I see a lot of potential in this Panthers team. They play in the best division in the league, I think.
Sure.
Which is going to be hard for them, but I thought the same thing about the league.
I don't know. You know what? I'm going to disagree on that front. I feel like the NFC in the South is not what it was 2 years ago. I think you got the NFC North and the AFC South. I would say are the two best divisions right now.
Okay, I'll bite at that. But I still all of the NFC South teams at least have potential to be great. I think. Except
I
maybe the Bucks.
yeah, I don't. I just don't. I don't have a lot of faith in the Panthers, and
Okay,
it
yeah,
comes down
they
to the
still
fact that they have no solid offensive linemen right now. That
true.
the defensive line does not have an outstanding player outside of maybe K1 Short. I mean but he's also had a few down years. They drafted Brian Burns, but I don't really expect much out of him right now. He may end up coming out to be a great player. And Luke Kuechly, of course, is a great player, but now he's not going to have Thomas Davis, who created a lot of opportunities for him on the side. And when was the secondary all that great either?
I see your point.
I mean Eric Reed's a good player. There's not like a strong cornerback selection for this team. I don't know. I think you nail on the head the point that this was a very similar roster last year, and they started out great. And I
Yeah.
think that
And
there could be a potential there. There's just a lot of lost important individuals there.
yeah, okay. I agree with that. I think that, but they're off. If Cam Newton is at his top form, their offense is going to be fantastic.
Sure. Yes. I think that's going to be the big question for this year is will Cam Newton be healthy? I think I think there is some question about that, but he is starting to throw, according to a few reports that are out there. So we'll see what happens on that front. Roll the dice.
Number 1.
All right, the New Orleans Saints. Is that I think that if I'm going to point to any team that has the best shot at winning the Super Bowl this year, I think it's the Saints.
Yeah.
Now I don't want to be a hypocrite here, so I will say that Drew Brees is 40 now, or he's either he is going to be, or he's either going to be 40 this year, or he is already 40. I think he's already 40. Regardless,
I will check on this.
yes, thank you. I appreciate it. So, could a potential drop off happen? Yes, and I think that
Drew Brees is 40 years old as of January.
Okay, and he did have a drop off of play last year, and that was kind of part of the issues that led to the Saints being eliminated.
Yeah, the big thing I noticed with that was that it was definitely the second part of the season that his play got much worse.
For sure, and I think that there is reason for concern there. But if he plays well, the talent that's on this team from top to bottom is awesome. I mean, Alvin Kamara is great, and you're not going to have Ingram there anymore, but you do still have Latavius Murray, who's always been a great complimentary back since his time with Oakland. You have Michael Thomas leading the way on the receiving core, and now you have a great tight end in Jared Cook as well. You have an offensive line that has been stable. You lost your center to retirement, so I'm curious to see how that will affect them. And then you have the potential breakout for Marcus Davenport, who had some great moments last year, a guy that you traded up for. You also have, of course, Cameron Jordan, your franchise defensive end. That's going to get after the quarterback. There's also Demario Davis, who had a great year last year with the Saints. And then the secondary, Von Bell, very underrated as a safety, played very well. Marshawn Lattimore, who had more of a down year, I think he's going to be great. Eli Apple out of nowhere started playing well last year. So I don't know, man. I think that the Saints team has it all. If Drew Brees can play like he has been as a quarterback, and kind of forgets the second half of last year, I think this team could be golden.
Yeah, I think the question is, can he like just physically handle the whole season?
Right. Absolutely. I think I would like to think he can. If he doesn't, they could start Teddy Bridgewater after that, or they could go with Taysom Hill, who again I didn't even mention, another weapon that they've been using a lot as well. So who knows what's gonna happen with the Saints? But that's how I think, at least, that they should be considered the NFC favorites at this time.
Yeah, the Saints are going to be dominant. I hope that Drew Brees is able to last the whole season, because if he does, he will be able to lead that team to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and even break some more records or extend the current ones that he has.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens. All right, what's next?
Next is number 2.
All right, the Atlanta Falcons.
Can I do this one?
Yeah.
This is the team that I expect to be the most improved compared to, well, maybe other than the Browns, but one of the teams that I expect to improve greatly from last year. One of their biggest problems was injury. They had a lot of injuries last year, especially on defense, that really just shut them down and made them unable to have a defense on that side of the ball. That was redundant.
But it's true though.
It's true. And their Devonta Freeman was also injured, so they didn't really have as good of a run game as they could have because Freeman wasn't in the game. But you take Matt Ryan, who played fantastic last year. You have 3 wide receivers in Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and Mohamed Sanu, mainly the former 2. And what?
For some reason I heard you say the former Jew, and I'm like,
what? Oh no!
What?
Mohamed Sanu is what I said.
What in the world?
I don't know.
I knew that you were talking coherently, so I was just gonna let it go. But then you said what, so I was just like, all right, I guess I have to explain.
Okay. And there's also this interesting fact: Matt Ryan plays extremely well in domes. The Atlanta Falcons are playing 13 of their games this year in domes.
Wow!
Actually, it might not be 13, but it's like it might be. It's either they play 13 games in domes or they don't play outside of a dome until week 13.
Give me 1 second. Let me verify this shit.
Well, Falcons, 8 of them are at home.
You're absolutely right. I see the Panthers, the Niners, and the Bucks as outdoor stadiums. Everything else is indoors.
Yep.
Superdome, State Farm Stadium, NRG Stadium, Lucas Oil Stadium, and U.S. Bank Stadium, and then of course they're home. So that is surreal.
So Matt Ryan is going to play extremely well because all of his fucking games are going to be in domes.
Yeah.
And that's going to help the Falcons out.
Yeah.
That's a weird fact, but it's the truest fact for me to say the Falcons will be a much better team this year, and I think we'll make the playoffs.
Unfortunately for them, they're gonna play in the first outdoor Super Bowl since I think 2013. if they make it that far.
If they make it. Where is it this year? Is it
Miami?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's luckily it's a warmer place, but
tip of the wane of America.
Yeah. I agree. I think that I don't really see anywhere where this team, considering the talent that's been there for this team on defense, I don't see, or on offense, I don't see them being too bad this year. I really am curious about Vic Beasley because he's not been that great, and I would want to see him succeed. But I think that was a part of the reason why the defense was not as strong last year, was because he was not great. But you got a guy like Takkarist McKinley who's continuing to develop and become a good player. Of course, Deion Jones, returning from injury, Keanu O'Neal returning from injury. All these guys in the back end, especially, that are returning from injury and are going to be very important parts of this team. On the defensive side, and I think especially with drafting the offensive lineman that they did, they're going to protect Matt Ryan, and I think that Ito Smith is going to be a very easy replacement for Talvin Coleman. it's a good roster. It's a really good roster. And so there's a lot of hope for this team that they could dethrone the Saints on in this division. So I think it's a battle between those two teams right now. If I had to see it,
I also think there were a lot of um 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 what was I saying? What was I going to do with this point? I don't remember.
there was
Let's move on. Let's move on.
oh god. Yeah. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think that this team, I don't even know what I feel.
This
about
is the
this
hardest team to talk about. I think.
It is because I feel like that. I mean, obviously the question is going to be Jameis Winston. Is he going to ever be able to be the quarterback for this team? Going to be the guy? To lead this team moving forward. There's a reason why they went with Bruce Arians, because they think that he could mold him and turn him into the great quarterback. And Arians has a great history with quarterbacks, so potentially. A lot of questions about the backfield, but I mean, you got Mike Evans, then you also lost a lot of other wide receivers as well. You got OJ Howard.
Godwin, though.
Say again.
Chris Godwin, though.
Godwin, yeah.
He's literally like every fantasy football expert's like darling right now. Everyone loves him.
He may be the center point, but I don't know. This offense, it has some things that you could look at and like, and there's also
the backfield is atrocious.
The backfield is atrocious, and there's a lot of questions about Jameis Winston. And I look at the defense and I say, still, what have you done about the secondary?
Nothing.
And I mean, you got Devin White for your linebacking core, which we'll see if he actually ends up being a huge impact on that front. And now instead of McCoy, who you released, you're going with Sue, who he had some decent moments with the Rams, but is he going to have the same impact without Aaron Donald to kind of carry him a little bit? I don't know. Vita Vea had some moments last year, so maybe he'll step up and have some moments, but we'll see what happens. So, Eddie, do you have any other thoughts on this Buccaneers team?
I think it's going to be a very interesting team. I still think they're going to be Jameis Winston will throw way too many interceptions, even with the head coaching change. Yeah. I think it's an upgrade in coaching. Another note about the Falcons is that they Dirk Cutter became their new OC. Dirk Cutter had a great offense in Tampa Bay. The offense was not the problem in Tampa Bay. So, good on the Falcons, bad on the Buccaneers. I don't know if the Buccaneers are going to be successful this year. It's going to be interesting to see what Arians does, but I'm not expecting a ton from them this year.
Yeah. I mean, Todd Bowles, I think, is going to be an X factor, because I think that when he was with the Cardinals and with Arians, that he had a great defense. So, I mean, I'll see what's happening on that front. I'm very curious to see how different this team is, because I think the defense has talent. I think that it's there where they could dominate, but I don't know. I think that this is a team that I'm not entirely sure is gonna fight the Falcons or the Saints for a lead in the division. I don't know if I see that right now, but we'll see how it goes. Next division.
Next division is going to be number 8.
And that is the NFC West.
All right.
So let's start with which team?
Team 3.
The Niners.
Ooh.
So the Niners.
It's another hard team to talk about.
It is a hard team to talk about, but I think that there's I think that there is something that I feel like is worth noting, that they might have one of the best backup quarterback situations right now. I think that C.J. Beathard and Nick Mullins. I mean, C.J. Beathard had his moments in 2017, and Nick Mullins, he was one of the best like backup quarterback situations last year. I mean, he played very well at times for the Niners when Garoppolo had not been there for most of the year. And so that's something to really look forward to if worst comes to worst, Garoppolo's not doing well. But I look at the rest of this team, and I think that the defense could arguably make a huge leap. D Ford, Nick Bosa, DeForest Buckner, all those guys making up a great defensive line.
Even Richard Sherman's still.
Richard Sherman's still there, and he didn't have the most amazing year, but he still had his moments.
He's still Richard Sherman.
You have a guy like Jason Verrett and Jimmy Ward, Jason Verrett, who has not played in a long time, but when he did play, he had some good moments. Jimmy Ward, who has been a good number 2 quarterback as well. This team, if things, I mean, of course, like you have guys like on the offensive side where George Kittle, you got Tevin Coleman in the running back side, and and they added Debo.
They have so many running backs, dude.
Yeah, they do. They added Debo Samuel, Jalen Hurd in the receiving. Like, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, from a fantasy standpoint, just so you know, nobody has any fucking idea what to do with the running backs because we have no idea who's going to start them.
Sure.
Because McKinnon's coming off an injury. Matt Breida and the other one are injured right now, and Tevin Coleman seems fine. But Tevin Coleman's never been a starter.
Well, no, he was. I mean, he was for down the stretch with the Falcons. Because Freeman was not in, and he played well. I mean, Coleman is. I think I feel like Coleman. I would put him as the starter. I would
put my money on Coleman.
I feel like he has the talent, and he has been in a Kyle Shanahan offense where he has excelled. I mean, I think that Shanahan's a huge player in all of this.
But did they bring Tevin Coleman in? This is just my question. Sure. And why I have some pause. Did they bring Tevin Coleman in to play the Devonta Freeman role or the Tevin Coleman role?
I think he can play both. I think that he has the ability to. I mean, I think that. Well, I mean, even still though, they have a bunch of backs behind him that could work. If he's gonna play his role that he has played with the Falcons in the Coleman role, I mean, you can use other guys as the Devonta Freeman, maybe more heavier back role.
I see.
I mean, that's how I see it anyway.
I think that they play in a hard division, especially with the Seahawks and the Rams in it.
Mm.
But I don't see them as totally out of contention.
No, I wouldn't either. I think that it's one of those teams that could break a playoff drought. All right, who's next?
Next up, we already did that one. Damn it. Number 4.
All right. The Arizona Cardinals.
The Arizona Cardinals shocked the world, and by that I mean not by taking Kyler Murray number 1 overall and then trading away their number 1 pick from last year, their round 1 pick from last year, Josh Rosen. This is a much, much different team than it was last year. Their offense is going to be improved. And, well, it's going to be improved. They're going to be a much more offensive team than they were last year. And Kyler Murray, I think, has the skill set to support this offense, but I don't want to write him off as the answer right now.
Sure.
I think that their team overall can take some big steps forward. Second-year wide receiver Christian Kirk to maybe start stepping up for Larry Fitzgerald. They also, who was their wide receiver that they took pretty high?
Andy Isabella.
Andy Isabella. I thought there was another one.
Keyshawn Johnson. I mean, I think he was lower though.
No, okay. I'll look up.
I mean, there's also Hakeem Butler.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Okay.
Yeah, but they added a lot of
Andy Isabella way
stuff.
higher than Butler though, just so you know.
Oh, okay. I don't know what I'm thinking then. But they added a lot of players. I don't want to say talent necessarily because I'm not sure how they'll perform yet. On their offensive side of the ball, they still have Patrick Peterson leading their defense. They will definitely be better than last year, and I do not think they will get the number 1 pick next year.
Mm.
I'm just not sure if they will not finish last in the division.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that there's a lot of questions for Kyle Murray, and there's a lot of questions about Cliff Kingsbury. I don't know. Really, I mean, it seems like a match made in heaven on maybe the college level, but is it going to work on the NFL level? It's going to be a question. And the big problem for Murray is that his offensive line that he's dealing with is not good, and they didn't really do a whole lot to help him. I mean, Marcus Gilbert they added in free agency, but I don't really trust the offensive line. Still, I feel like there's a lot more that needs to be proved on that front. I mean, they have certainly a nice group of weapons that they can work with. The tight ends leave a lot to long for at the moment. But and they're also going to be without Patrick Peterson for a good chunk of the season. So I don't know how I feel about this roster. I think that the defense has a good amount of players, and we'll see what Vance Joseph does with those players. But
David Johnson also needs to play much better.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I don't know how much you could still factor in the injury aspect of it.
I think part of that was last year's coaching staff going, let's run it straight forward.
Right.
And not having any other game plan.
Basically,
last year's coaching staff was terrible.
Yeah, I think that Johnson needs to be used better. And I think that there's certainly an opportunity for Kingsbury to do it. I think that the jury is going to be really looking at Clint Kingsbury to see can a fired head coach of the college level be a successful NFL head coach. We will see.
Yeah.
Next up, 1 or 2?
1.
All right. Want to take the Rams?
Sure, I'll talk about the Rams. They're getting Cooper Kupp back. They have a very elite wide receiver core offense that's going to be very similar to what they did last year. Except we don't know what's going on with Todd Gurley. They were so secretive about it during the postseason, and it's a very, very big concern for everyone on whether or not he's actually going to be able to be the receiver he was. It's so weird with this team because I don't know how to handle them. They lose Sue, but they get Clay Matthews. Their defense, I think, is going to be comparable to last year, and they still have Aaron Donald. But with how dominant Todd Gurley was last year, they better hope that he can be the same player he was, or that Darrell Henderson, who they drafted, can be that if Todd Gurley can't. But that's the biggest problem, I think, with the Rams is whether or not Todd Gurley is going to be able to be the dominant player he has been.
Yeah, they made it seem like it was mostly injury, but then, he barely really was used and barely played well in the Super Bowl. And then they go ahead and they draft a running back pretty high in the draft, and so there's a lot of questions there. I think the defense would be better. I think mainly because you got a guy like Eric Weddle at free safety who could certainly play well. I think that back end, the defensive backs, is going to be a very strong unit next year. And Dante Fowler seems to be having a little bit of a redemption story right now. And I think he's going to be a leader in the linebacking core. I know Clay Matthews is there, but I would like to see more from Matthews compared to what I've seen in recent years. The offense is very comparable to last year, I think, of anything. But the question is going to be Gurley, like you said. But the good news is I think that Jared Goff, if Jared Goff does not perform, they do have a good backup in Blake Bortles. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I forgot about Blake Bortles. They added the best quarterback, the Bortles of all time.
Yeah.
To
basically.
To the team. Yeah.
So yeah.
However, I think the thing that is going to stop the Rams the most from winning the division again is the fact that the Seahawks in their division.
Do you feel like the Seahawks? Well, I guess we could go into the Seahawks. We can just transition right into it.
My transition.
Yeah. Well, because if I had to be honest, I mean the Seahawks they certainly have a good amount of players on the team, and they certainly have the young talent. And I'm not going to sit here and say again that this could be like a down year for the Seahawks, especially after what happened this year. But they lost Doug Baldwin. That's a biggie. I think that's a big loss.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Did Doug Baldwin really have much of an impact?
Absolutely. Are you kidding? He has had an impact for the time that he was there. He's one of the best wide receivers to ever grace the Seahawks. I think that you have Tyler Lockett, who's been on and off in recent years, and they drafted DK Metcalf, who I loved in the combine, but there's a lot of questions about his durability as well as his ability to really make a lot of major plays. So I think that that's going to be a huge question mark for them as wide receiver.
I pulled up Baldwin's stats. Like last year he had an injury, but he wasn't a huge contributing factor to the team.
He has been a very important factor for the team
in the past. Yeah, but I with last year that was supposed to be. I'm not trying to downplay what Doug Baldwin did.
Down the stretch. That's the reason why they were in the playoffs was him.
Okay, all right.
Regardless of whether or not you want to look at the stats or not, he's been a huge factor for the team.
Yeah. Okay.
And I mean, Chris Carson and Rashawn Petty and these guys that are supposedly going to continue to be the running backs of the future. They had some great moments last year, and they could still be pretty good. I mean, I look at this team, and they're going to be like they're pretty much in the same boat as they were last year, but they also lost one of their great offensive players, and I think that's going to hurt them moving forward. That's all.
Yeah. They still have Russell Wilson though, and who's now the highest paid player in football.
Yes.
I think they'll. I see a world where the Seahawks are still competitive.
I think that they're still competitive for sure.
Yeah. They're going to be in whatever they do, and I think definitely can threaten the Rams.
They can threaten the Rams. They've played close with them. I think that the Rams have the stronger roster right now.
Yeah.
By a decent margin, I think. Because I think especially because they got rid of Frank Clark, and they have a few young guys there, but the defensive line's kind of does not really have anyone that really stands out there either. So there's just certain things about this team where I feel like they did give up lose a lot of bite with some of the players that they did end up parting with. But it's a young team with a lot of developing talent that I think that they certainly can be a huge factor in facing the Rams moving forward. So yeah.
And if this is a rebuilding year and they still manage do well and they're rebuilding,
yeah,
they have a lot of potential going forward.
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Which division's next?
Have we done 7 yet?
No, we have not. It is
Okay.
the NFC East.
Oh.
Uh, where do we start with?
Dallas Cowboys.
It's number 1.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. I guess I'll do the Cowboys.
Go for it.
I am. I'm cautiously optimistic about the Cowboys this year. As someone who's never really a fan of the Dallas Cowboys, cautiously optimistic, because they had the talent that they had. They didn't really lose much this off season. There wasn't really any major person. They locked up Demarcus Lawrence rather. For future use on the defensive line, and he's been a real torture for a lot of people.
Yes.
And that, I mean, their worst loss was maybe Cole Beasley, but like you got a guy like, I mean, you have Amari Cooper obviously being the starting wide receiver. You have Allen Hurns who could certainly play an impact on this team. Man, I don't know about Tavon Austin as much of it, but I love Michael Gallup. I've liked him since he got into the league, and I think that he'll certainly be an impact moving forward. And Jason Witten's back, which is fucking weird. I don't know how much how much he will have an impact on this team, but I don't know. Not a lot has changed, but I think that that's a good thing for this team, and I think it's gonna be hard.
Dak, Amari, and Zeke are a great trio to build around.
Mm.
Could I can't think of this off the top of my head, so don't
please don't tease me.
Scrutinize me. But it may be one of the best, just in terms of the synergy they have, one of the best quarterback, running back, wide receiver combinations in the league.
I think that's fair. It's among them,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, if Gurley was healthy, I would say Goff, Gurley, and insert wide receiver here.
Yeah,
but it's a great core on offense, plus the good defense. You add Randall Cobb, who can do fine.
That's right,
enough.
Randall Cobb. I forgot about him.
Do fine enough as a second or third wide receiver.
Yeah.
It's the Cowboys division to lose. I say that with the Eagles in the division.
I don't disagree.
I think that I fucking hate the Cowboys, but they're the best team in the division right now.
I think that they could contend. I really do. Yeah. I think that's there.
Which upsets me.
Sure, it upsets me too, but
I need to be correct.
Accurate. Sure. I mean, I think if I'm going to point to anything that's going to hold the team back, it's going to be the clappy boy on the sideline. So
yes,
we'll see what happens on that front. All right.
Yeah, I still believe that that it sucks for Cowboys fans that their entire happiness is Jerry Jones, but
yeah,
because Jerry's never going to fire Jason Witten. Yeah. All right. Next in the NFC East is number 3.
All right, that is the Washington Redskins.
This team is the most injury-prone team I've ever fucking seen.
Mm.
They have promising starts to seasons, such as last year, where they started 6-2 or whatever.
Yeah,
6-2, 5-2, something. They had a good start.
Yeah, that sounds like it.
And they were in the top 6 teams in the NFC at one point.
Yeah,
doing real good, and then Alex Smith gets injured, and then, Alex Smith is injured. Darius got injured before the season. They don't bring in any free agent wide receivers. Their defense doesn't really have huge names or huge talent attached to it. Obviously, some players are gonna be, but this there's something wrong with this team on a very deep level. Whether it's the front office is trash. Dan Snyder's a piece of shit. That's his name, right?
Yes.
Okay, there's a lot of Snyders that are pieces of shit. I'm kidding.
Looking at you, Rob.
Yeah. Is Rob Snyder that much of a piece of shit?
He's an anti-vaxxer.
Oh, yeah, okay. Fuck that. Um, yeah, but Dan Snyder's a piece of shit. Jay Gruden, it like should be working out, but he's not. Their players all keep getting injured. That could be a team doctor thing. Even I don't know what it is. They don't get any big name players. Like who's going to start for quarterback this year? Is it going to be Case Keenum, Colt McCoy, or Dwayne Haskins? I think Dwayne Haskins will end the year. I think Keenum will start, but yeah, I don't even know. It's a mess there. I hate the team, and they're not like they're the entire the organization as a whole has like needs to get their shit together, change their name, and just figure shit out.
I think that the one big thing that I think they did this off season is they went and got a guy that they should have paid a draft pick for, but they didn't, and that was Landon Collins.
That's true. They did get that.
That's a big secondary addition. I think is going to be
good
important.
For them. That's more of a Giants faux pas than a Redskins victory.
Absolutely. No. I think it absolutely is. And you have, I think that you have guys like Allen and Payne that could make the defensive line look good. I think the defense for this team is going to be good this year. And I say that even with the Reuben Foster injury, he shouldn't even, I don't know if he should have been on the roster in the first place, but he was injured, and I still look at this linebacking core with Montez Sweat, who's a very good player, who may have even gone higher if it weren't for those heart rumors that he was having, and Ryan Kerrigan has always been a great player for this team. So I think the defense could go well for the team. The question's going to be the offense, and I think the one big name to look at is Darius Guice. Will he return from injury? It'd be great. We'll see.
I don't think it's looking good for guys, given the fact that they re-signed Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
This is what they did. They have Adrian Peterson, who played pretty well last year because he's Adrian Peterson, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Darius Guice, who had an injury and is still trying to recover from an injury. So you know what they did? They got some insurance by drafting another running back
in Bryce Love,
who has injury problems.
Who also has injury problems.
Yeah.
There's something about them continuing to have injury problems and then drafting players with injury problems. There's a pile up there.
Like that's the shit I'm talking about. Not beyond just the fact that they still have that team name and that ownership refuses to change it. It's the incompetence of that level with the front office. Dwayne Haskins could be a great quarterback, but he's not going to have a team around him that will necessarily help with that.
And will they support him like Robert Griffin the third was? I mean, I think that there is a lot of loyalty there for him, but he kind of was, after 3 seasons, was kind of pushed out of his role for Cousins. So I mean, we'll see if the Redskins will give Haskins a similar amount of leash if he has to succeed in 3 years or be pushed out. We'll see what happens. So I think that those are all big questions for this year. All right, 2 or 4?
4.
All right, I got to do this one. The Giants. I mean, what can I say? It's been a really interesting offseason. I don't even want to go too long on this one because it makes me want to vomit in my mouth. I don't know how this team is going to work out this year. I think you're going to have Eli Manning start for a good chunk of it. And you got Saquon Barkley, who's going to be running to the ground behind an offensive line that we still have not seen prove anything yet. You're going to have a wide receiver core. Their best player is going to be Golden Tate. and Sterling Shepard, which is not bad, but I don't know. There's a guy with guy out there with bleach blonde hair that would have been great for this team, but they decided to trade him away.
It's a good thing that they complemented the slot receiver and Sterling Shepard with another slot receiver.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think going in all slot offense is going to work out perfectly.
It will help because that's how far Eli can throw.
Right. I agree with that. I think that especially if they want to, if they love that short yardage situation, then they're gonna love Barkley behind that line for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
Barkley's gonna be a stud.
Yeah. He's gonna figure out ways to make holes. I mean, there was this great NFL Films piece that they did where he kind of like was talking on the sidelines about how an offensive lineman should push in order to just give him more room to run, and he ended up running for a touchdown the next play. So he or the next drive or whatever it was, and so I think that he's going to be successful. I think Ingram could be very successful. I think you can make the argument that a lot of these players are going to be successful outside of the quarterback position right now. And I think they drafted Daniel Jones, which I've not been able to give my take on it. I said that I wanted a quarterback. They gave me a quarterback, and what else am I fucking supposed to do at this point? Maybe they drafted too high at this point for him. I don't know. I cannot give myself too worked up over them picking Daniel Jones right now until I see Daniel Jones play, because I've been crying for a fucking quarterback, and they finally did it for me. It wasn't the quarterback that I wanted.
It's a carbon copy of Eli Manning.
It's essentially a carbon copy of Eli Manning.
It's the actor they get you play in a movie about Peyton Manning. Play Eli in a movie about Peyton Manning.
That is a great callback to a great tweet that night. I agree 100%, and I don't know what Daniel Jones has really proven in his college career, but I'm gonna just hold on hope, because I once again really been wanting them to take a quarterback, and I cannot step off of that fucking pedestal right now. I have to ride this fucking wave. What's your thoughts on the Giants this season?
Look, they're gonna suck so bad, dude. If they win any games, it's gonna be because of Saquon.
Yeah.
And yeah,
what do they have on the defensive side? I mean, DeAndre Baker is nice as a rookie. I
don't know what else to say. They're going to be a shit team. They're Daniel Jones will probably be the starter at the end of the season. I don't see Eli making it through the season, despite how hard-headed the New York Giants are and how hard-headed New York Giants fans are. And it's I'm upset as someone who has gone through shitty teams, really shitty teams.
Yeah.
In the Mark Trestman and John Fox era of the Chicago Bears. I feel for you.
Yeah.
I feel for you very hard. But I can't stop myself from talking about how fucking awful the Giants situation is right now.
They're pretty shitty.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll see what happens. But I think that you have some underrated players on the team, like B.J. Hill. And you got Dalvin Tomlinson, Lorenzo Carter. Like, you got guys like that could really step up on the defensive side. That could be really cool and shit. You have the few guys we've already named on offense. So maybe. But I doubt it. I doubt it's going to really make much of any waves at all. So, yeah, looking forward to this season. It should be great. It's fucking gonna stab myself with a spork. Okay, Cubs, go ahead.
Philadelphia. Carson Wentz needs to play a whole season, and he has to do it without his safety net. And granted, most of the reasons or the two times Carson Wentz has gotten out for the season have been because of injuries that shouldn't continue. The Eagles I don't know what's going on with their offense. Other than Zach Ertz, they don't really have anyone super established as their primary running back or their primary wide receiver. Like, I guess you could say Alshon Jeffrey's the number one, but Zach Ertz is the number one.
Yeah.
The rest of their receivers are a mess. Deshaun Jackson is there. I don't know who will be technically the number one. Will it be Miles Sanders? Will it be Jordan Howard? Will Clement do something? I don't think Corey Clement will do anything, but he's still there. Smallwood is there. Josh Adams is there. I think. There's so many people in their backfield that may be a positive for them. Just depending on what they need, they just plug in the running back that they need. But it also feels like by having so many of them that it will
that they don't have any.
Yeah, that none of them build any momentum or familiarity, and it doesn't work for them at all. Their defense, I think, will be fine, but they're also losing Chris Lawn, who is one of the best people of NFL players to ever play.
There was a great quote by someone one time, I just forget who, but someone said if you have two quarterbacks, you have none. Basically, in the idea of that. If you have two guys competing, and you don't have one surefire guy that kind of stands out and it should be the starter, then you're kind of in a tough spot. And it's kind of that situation with the running backs at the moment and potentially the wide receivers. But I do think the depth is there for both teams, or for both parts of that team, rather. And I think that even Zach Ertz has some depth behind him with Dallas Goedert. And you got Richard Rodgers as well. So, we'll see how that all unfolds. I think that the only big question mark for me is going to be the linebacking core for this team, because there's not really anyone that stands out. And they lost Jordan Hicks. They lost a few guys from that group. But the defensive line still looks pretty strong. I think they added Malik Jackson, so that should be an impact player. And you got a pretty decent secondary. I mean, last year when a bunch of cornerbacks went down with injuries, random guys started showing up and playing very well. I think the one guy I point to is Avonte Maddox on that front. Had a very, very solid stretch down the way. So I think that this team is going to compete. It's going to be very, very good. Will they beat the Dallas Cowboys, though? We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want anything else to add?
Not really.
Okay.
Quentin, if you're for some reason listening to this, I'm sorry, but Eagles got some shit to prove. That's my Eagles fan that is probably not listening, but
yeah,
he's the only person I know who actually roots for the Eagles.
I think it's not so much the Eagles. I think it's Carson Wentz especially that needs to prove.
Hopefully he'll not get injured.
Sure, absolutely. All right, last two divisions. Which one's going to be first?
We've done 5.
We're looking at 1 and 2 at the moment.
All right. Wait, I think that was a 1. 1. Yeah, kind of looked like a 7.
All right, you got the NFC North.
AFC North.
AFC North. Yes, you're correct.
Yes. And the team number 3.
Number 3, the Cleveland Browns.
You should take this one.
Okay. Well, what else can I say? Except you're welcome, Cleveland Browns, for your fucking Odell Beckham. I said, what can you say? And then the song, the Moana song came into my head, and I was like, wait, this works perfectly for fucking you getting Odell Beckham for the Giants. Well, no, yeah. I mean, I think that this team it did not have any first-round draft picks. Did not really have a ton of draft picks generally. But their talent is very, very nice. Very, very nice group right now. And I think, I mean, if I had to look at a section right now to maybe criticize, maybe the offensive line. I think that there's still some recovery to do since losing Joe Thomas a few seasons ago. And I think that maybe the linebacking core still needs to find itself a little bit, but you got a guy like Joe Schobert, you got Christian Kirksey still there. Both of them could still be an impact player. They have some rookies that could fill the void that's left by Jamie Collins. The secondary is building up pretty nicely. I don't know, man. I mean, certainly. I mean, look, Denzel Ward and Greedy Williams as your quarterback. The 1-2 punch, like, Jesus, it's very nice. I really like this team. I really like this team, and Baker Mayfield's gonna make this Cleveland Browns team a whole lot of fun. And I think Freddie Kitchens is going to be one of the big people that has to prove himself as a head coach. I think he's going to do it because I think many of the players like him a lot. And I think that if he's going to control the offensive side and he's going to have Todd Monken by his side that made the Buccaneers fun last year, and you're going to have a defense coordinator in Steve Wilkes when he was with the Panthers, made them pretty fun. It just smells like the Browns don't smell like shit anymore.
They're gonna be good. They're probably gonna win the division. Like, they were my shit on team 2 years ago, and now they're actually good, and no one can take that away,
except the Browns.
But I look. They figured out the recipe. They put the baker in the kitchens, and it's gonna be fine.
Yeah,
they're gonna be good. They're cooking up some Brown stuff. Don't take that the wrong way.
There's a lot of ways you can take that. You gotta do the cookie by the book. Feeling crazy. Yeah. I mean, I think even if you put Odell aside, you still had guys like Landry and Rashad Higgins at times had some good moments, and Antonio Callaway had some good moments last year. I don't know, man. I think that this is gonna be a fun season in Cleveland. I think they have a lot. I generally do think they have a lot to prove still, but the talent is there, no question about it, and it's gonna be interesting to see how it all unfolds.
Yeah.
What are their challengers now? 1 through 4, 1, 2, and 4. We're looking for
4.
All right.
Cincinnati. I will take these.
Go ahead.
The Stripey Boys.
Stripey
Boys. They finally got rid of their head coach who's done jack shit for them. The past.
Yeah, has been the best head coach in the history of the Cincinnati Bengals, though. So. That's the sad part about it.
Which is the total Bengals. They fell victim to the hire someone in the Sean Vay sneezed on me coaching tree. But they're at least going to have a better offense than they did last year, in theory. If they have an offensive-minded head coach, they're going to have a better offense. I still think Andy Dalton has something. I'm not sure what it is, and he probably doesn't, but he could. I'm a sports analyst.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a point though, because I think Dalton's
he could go either way. I think that he has potential, and with this offense, the pieces are there. They improved their offensive line tremendously. Joe Mixon is a really great talent. AJ Green is still in like that upper tier of wide receivers, I think, as long as he stays healthy.
Sure.
Tyler Boyd stepped up. If Tyler Eifert stays healthy, there's a lot of weapons that an offensive-minded coach could take advantage of that Marvin Lewis couldn't. I'm worried about their defense. I don't think that again, correct me if I'm wrong, I can't think of any like big defensive players that they would have added.
No, they did not. I mean, they tried to draft a few here and there, but nothing. I mean, the big question has been the linebacking core, which was really the big reason why the Bengals were a historically bad defense last year. So they're gonna look to kind of re-put that afloat. But that's That's really the only big thing with the Bengals in terms of what like the defense generally, but like I look at guys like Carlos Dunlap and Geno Atkins who are still up front, who are still going to play an impact. I mean, that defensive line is pretty deep with a few guys that play backup roles that will could leave an impact on this team. And I think that the guy got secondary players that haven't really become big names, but have played well at times. Like William Jackson III, I think is going to continue to grow as a quarterback. He's a former first round pick, but he's had some moments here and there for this team. So I think the offense, like you said, I think that has a great chance of doing well. It's the defense that has a lot of questions, but I think that they got two major sections of it, the linemen and I think the defensive backs, I think should be good. Linebacker is still up for debate.
Yeah. They got rid of toxicity in Vontaze, though.
Oh, for sure. I
Yeah.
think that's
Good
I
move.
think is a good move overall. Oh,
Yes.
for sure.
Next up, we're talking about number 2,
All right, the Steelers.
the Steelers.
Yeah, so this is gonna be.
I can't think of another team that got so much worse in the offseason.
Well, I don't know. I look at this team and I see that they got that they don't have Le'Veon Bell or Antonio Brown anymore, but they do have James Conner and they do have Juju, and
Yes.
I think that those, based off of last year especially, I think those are going to be easy replacements. Believe it or not, I think that those are easy holes to fill. Not having Bell, not having Brown, I don't think was really the reason why the Steelers fell apart last year. I think part of the reason why they fell apart was not having Ryan Switzer in the middle of the linebacking core, and them drafting Devin Bush is a huge get. They actually jumped at the Bengals in order to get him in the draft. He's going to be huge for this team, and that's going to improve their defense. I think my big question mark more than anything is going to be their secondary. A lot of guys there that have been picked by this team but have not proven much in their time with the team, and this is going to be the year to do it. They need it.
Yeah, I think Big Ben and Tomlin especially need it. Tomlin, I think, has been on the hot seat, and the Steelers are not a team known for going through head coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think, like, it is a single-digit number of head coaches that Pittsburgh Steelers have had.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, it's very few.
I'm looking it up right now. The Pittsburgh Steelers head coaches.
And I mean, him and Ben, I think, they're both nearing the ends, I think, of their Steelers careers.
Yeah.
If Tomlin moves on or whatever.
Since 1969, nice. They've had 3 head coaches.
Yeah.
Chuck Noll, 69 to 91. Bill Cowher from 92 to 06, and then Mike Tomlin, 2007.
And all Super Bowl winners.
Yep.
I look at Ben Roethlisberger, and he's in the twilight of his career, but I do think, I don't think that the weapons got that much worse for him in the offseason.
Yeah.
Because I think Juju is going to be Juju played better than Antonio Brown. No one wants to admit it last year, but he did. And James Washington is going to be a good wide receiver too for this team. And I think that you have backup running backs for James Conner, like Benny Snell, who they drafted, that I think is going to play a good, just backup role, good support role overall. I like this team, actually.
Yeah, and the wide receivers have a decent amount of depth.
I think so.
Dante Moncrief and James Washington. I really hope James Washington big step up, not just because he's on my dynasty team, but in general.
No,
I was excited to see him.
Like I just said, Washington is gonna be a support player for sure. Next to Juju, I think he's gonna be the wide receiver too. I definitely, I think it's gonna be strong. I think it's gonna be a very very strong wide receiver unit, as it usually is in the Pittsburgh world.
Yeah, that's one thing Pittsburgh does is they hit on wide receivers.
Yeah, I do not think that this team is gonna drop off. It did feel like it got worse just because they lost two of their iconic players that they've had in recent years, but they have easily filled those holes in a very odd way, like in a way that you would not expect, but they filled those holes. So we'll see. We'll see where the Pittsburgh Steelers are. I think they're going to be, but it's going to be a very. Do I look at this team and compare it to the Browns and say that the Browns are better though? Yes, I do.
Yeah,
that's my.
I agree.
That's my viewpoint anyway. So let us move on to the Baltimore Ravens.
The Ravens, I think, are the most likely team to not win the division again next year.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, because as cool as they were last season, as fun as they were to watch Lamar Jackson run through everybody, he needs to learn how to throw the football and not be a one man show on the team. I think though that they added a lot of great talent for him. Hollywood Brown. There was another. What was his name?
Miles Boykin was another.
Miles Boykin. That's it. I knew it was a funny sounding last name.
Yeah.
Mark Ingram now in the running back position. The Ravens have made not great players into great running backs. Alex Collins, Gus Edwards, to name a couple. And now you have a good running back in Mark Ingram.
Yeah.
So I think the Ravens their run game is going to be out of this fucking world. And with the new talent they have at wide receiver that they've kind of built around Lamar Jackson, Jackson's going to be able to pass enough, as long as he's accurate enough to be successful on the offense. And their defense is pretty good. I think the Ravens will compete and they will be good, but with how good the Browns seem to be on paper and the uncertainty of Lamar Jackson's long-term success, they may not be as well off this season.
No, I think I agree with that. Lamar Jackson, I think, still has a lot to show us in terms of the capabilities of a quarterback on the NFL level. But he's had some great shootouts thus far in his career. Just this second year run, will it be a slump or will it work out? It's a big question. I think that the notable things is like, will this team replace the players that they lost on the defensive side? And on the linebacking front, with no Mosley and no Suggs, I don't know. I mean, I think the defensive line is still going to be pretty good. I think Brendan Williams, I think Michael Pierce. I think you gotta have a few guys there that will still make an impact. I mean, Matt Judon for the linebacking core and Tyus Bowser, maybe.
Who did they just add from the Seahawks?
They in the secondary they added Earl Thomas.
That's who I'm thinking of.
Yeah, so I mean that's I think a significant enough of a player where that I think that secondary won't downgrade too much.
Yeah.
But certainly it is still looking at the rest of the defense. They have a lot of young players that have a lot to prove, and I'm interested in seeing how it ends up going for them. Again, without Mosley being there, without Suggs being there. So yeah, I agree though. I think that they have, considering the depth around it, the least amount of chance. Although, well, you know what? I would say the second least. The next division we talk about, I think that division winner is the least likely to repeat.
Yes.
So with that being said, the AFC South.
Oh, the AFC South! What a beautiful wonderland of fantastic teams that I couldn't say 2-3 years ago.
Wait, who do we got first on this list?
Up first, we have number 1.
That is the Houston Texans. All right, so I guess I'll transition right into that. Yep. I think the Texans, despite Deshaun Watson being there, I pray for him because I am looking at this offensive line, and they added Tyus Howard, and they added another guy, I think, in the draft that, Max Sharping. You know, those guys they added in the draft because they're hoping that it'll protect Deshaun Watson. And if they could put them on the left tackle and the right tackle side, I mean, they're golden. But if they can't, and if they play badly, oh man, is this offense gonna be tough to watch? Because I love Watson, but it has been brutal watching him keep on getting hit after hit after hit, especially in a division that is constantly improving its defenses. It would be tough to watch. Their wide receiver core still is going to be Hopkins and Fuller, and Hopkins obviously I think is the best receiver in the league. Fuller,
I agree.
And maybe Kiki Kuti, maybe.
They,
Those are the impact players I think of the wide receiver front at least.
Oh yeah, for sure. When Will Fuller's healthy, and like if Will Fuller has a good game, he has a great game.
Mm.
But he's the definition of a boomer bust player.
Okay.
Yeah. Kiki, I think has a lot to him too, and especially if Fuller isn't able to play due to injury, Kiki's going to be a wonderful wide receiver too. Hopkins, I want to talk about because last year Hopkins did not drop a single ball, a single pass. That's insane.
Yeah, he's been his hands are the best in the league, and I think he's the best receiver.
He's elite. Watson, throwing to him, he's going to do well. The two of them together.
Mm-hmm.
Running back struggles for them, and the offensive line struggles for them.
Right.
Hopefully the defense can hold up because also again, unlike 2 to 3 years ago, I want the Texans to do well because I like a lot of the players on the team.
Sure. I do too. I mean, I like.
It's gonna be hard for them in this division.
I like Watson a lot, and I obviously from his time in college and just that he was the hot shot quarterback a few years ago, right before he tore his ACL. And, you have guys in defense like Watt and Clowney, and there's something out there where like people are like, oh, is Clowney even going to be on the team if he, with the whole franchise tag thing? I don't know about that. I think that he'll probably play at least one more year with the team on that front. But I mean, you have a linebacking core and a decent enough defensive line. I mean, after Watt, there's not like a ton of great players, but that front seven generally has been torture for a lot of NFC South or AFC South teams. But the secondary got hurt with they lost Kareem Jackson, Kevin Johnson, Tyree Matthew. They lost a lot, and so they're gonna have to rely on Bradley Roby to be the cornerback for them, and Lonnie Johnson as well. Really drafted from Kentucky. He's been a pretty good player in college, but will that show up here? I'm not too sure. There is a lot of questions about the secondary and the offensive line and the running back. There's an argument that they could be right back in last place next year.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But they tend to surprise the Texans, so I won't completely rule them out yet. Who's next on our talking point list?
Number 3.
Titans.
Another team that's hard to talk about. I'll take them.
Yeah.
They've been so middle of the road for so long, and they even like slightly above middle of the road, but nothing they've done recently has been like elite, spectacular.
Yeah.
Like they've just been this mediocre team that happens to win games. The only thing they have going for them is how good Derrick Henry was at the end of last season and how much he dominated last season. And they said they're going to do that again this year, but I don't know if they'll necessarily be able to. They could if they wanted to, but is that good for long-term Derrick Henry? You still have the rest of the same offense that wasn't that great last year. Uh, like you get Delaney Walker back, but he's up there in age. Marcus Mariota has had injuries, but still hasn't been a good enough quarterback for the draft price you paid for him.
Mm-hmm.
What are the receivers doing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think the Titans are going to be a good team, but they're still going to manage to win games. Some.
Um, let me argue on behalf of the Titans here a
Okay.
little bit. Because Mariota, you're absolutely spot on with. He has not played to the number 2 overall pick that he was picked at, and I mean they have a better backup situation though than they have had in a while with Tannehill being behind him. So
That is true.
I think that's some good news. Derrick Henry is great, and I think that he's proved it down the stretch, especially. I think he was doing well with it. Dion Lewis ended up not really making any impact on the team, or barely any impact. So I think Henry is going to be the guy that they rely on moving forward. With the wide receivers this year, the big name that I want to point to is Adam Humphries, because he was so crucial to that Tampa Bay offense last year that him going to the Titans is a huge loss for the Bucs and a big gain for the Titans. And you have Corey Davis, who has been flash in the pan at times, but he is starting to get a little bit more consistent. They drafted AJ Brown, who many may argue is a better wide receiver than DK Metcalf, who was wide receiver number 1 over AJ Brown when they were both at Ole Miss. And I think the offensive line has been pretty good, and I think the defense, man. Jarrell Casey continues to be the front of that defense, but you got guys in the linebacking group, especially, that I think that you have a lot of young players there that are going to continue to grow and develop and be an impact. And the secondary, I think, is going to be the question still, but Kenny Vaccaro played well last year. And Adoree Jackson's starting to get there as well. So I think that this team is pretty good overall. Would I say that I think that this team at this point is better than who I think the best team in the division is, which is the Colts? No. But I think that they will certainly give them fits. I think that there is a reason to believe that this team is going to compete and is going to play decently well if Mariota stays healthy, especially, and if he can play
Mariota
well.
stays healthy, they have a chance. I honestly think that this, in probably the best division of football, I don't see them competing at the level that the other 3 teams can. Maybe at the same level as Jacksonville. But I think that the especially the Colts
I would say the Texans were a worse team right now than the Titans.
Really,
I think so.
I don't agree with you on that.
Because I think that at the moment the depth, especially for where it counts, I think is there. The defensive backs for both teams are bad right now, and you could definitely say the defensive line and the linebacker. Just because of J.J. Watt, you could say maybe the defensive line is better in Houston. You could say with David County and Whitney Mercilus and Benedict McKinley, who somehow was a Pro Bowler last year. Like, you definitely could say the defense is better. I would point to a few young names that really work out. But if I look and Deshaun Watson, they're close to equal, I would say.
Okay.
But the running backs, Derrick Henry, I would say, is better than what they have in Houston right now.
That's true.
And I would say the offensive line is better right now with the Titans at the moment.
Yeah.
I think that they have. I think, despite having the best wide receiver with DeAndre Hopkins right now with Houston, I think the Titans actually have more depth at the wide receiver position than at Houston.
I do not agree with that. I think that Fuller and Cutie, given when they're on, they're good players. I haven't seen enough from Corey Davis or Taywan Taylor to
But I'm sorry, but you have to consider the guys that they added too. Adam Humphries, I'm
Yeah,
telling
Adam,
you, is a huge
yes,
addition. And I think you
yes.
have AJ Brown as well. I'm
There's
saying you could look at three
there-
guys.
there's talent there. I don't know if Mariota will have the ability to deal with that talent because we haven't seen that we haven't seen them with each other yet. And I think the quarterback and wide receiver chemistry is important that Mariota just doesn't have with them yet.
Sure.
Watson at least has that with his three wide receivers.
But the big thing is the fact that if it can Watson get it out quick enough to get to those wide receivers with that offensive line.
Yes.
I would say yes and no. Because I really think they have a huge problem with the offensive line. If those guys they drafted don't work out, and there's a reason to believe that they might not, because I think that they have Titus Howard was overdrafted because they wanted to take Andre Dillard, and then the Eagles jumped ahead on to grab him. And then you have this other guy, Max Sharping, or whatever the hell his name is, that we don't know nothing about him. And supposedly these guys are going to be the replacements for those offensive line. And if those don't work out, you're going to put Matt Khalil out there. It's a brutal line. And I think that's going to be a huge impact on Watson. I'm saying that the Titans and Texans have the chance to be the bottom two in the division. I think.
Okay. This was a lot more heated than I thought it would be.
No, but I'm just saying that this is just how I feel about the Titans, that I think that they're going to be a better team, but I think that you can make the argument that there's more talent on the other two teams in the division that we haven't talked about yet.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about those teams.
Yes.
Number 2, Colts.
The Colts. I think that the Colts could be your AFC contender out of nowhere this year.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I would have them as my Super Bowl pick. They are a stud team. Andrew Luck is back to form. Marlon Mack is a good running back for them. He does the job. The offensive line is stellar. The defense has improved a lot with the addition of what's his fucking name, the rookie defensive rookie of the year.
That's Darius Leonard.
Darius Leonard. Like, defense has improved under him. They are a very well-rounded team led by a now healthy Andrew Luck, who if you couldn't tell, is a good quarterback.
Yeah, very good quarterback.
Yeah. Colts, I see very positive things for. I would be shocked if they did not win the division. Well, maybe not shocked win the division, but they're probably going to win the division because they're probably going to be one of the best teams in football next year.
I don't see a dark spot for this team. I think that's the big question. I mean, even the running backs, which they don't have like a clear starter, but I mean, the wide receivers, there's a plenty full of wide receivers for them. Marlon Mack is probably going to be the starting running back for them. And they also have Hines and the kid Jordan Wilkins as well, that's been thrown around as a potential running back too as well. The offensive line is as deep as it possibly can be. They have Justin Houston now from the Chiefs, who, despite his age, still was kicking ass. And Marcus Hunt, of course, being opposite him, they're both gonna play a huge impact on that team. Darius Leonard, of course, being a controller of the linebacking core, and the secondary, I think maybe is maybe where the most questions could lie. But still, you got Malik Hooker, who's played really well. Clayton Gathers, they got back from free agency, that he could potentially play a little bit. Quincy Wilson, they drafted Rock Ya-Sin. I really like this team. I think top to bottom, they're the best in the division, and I don't know if it's really close either. It's very good, very good. I mean, I'm saying that the AFC South is a really good division.
AFC South, I think, is the best division. Maybe NFC North, but AFC South is really good.
Yeah, but
the Colts, like the fact that the Colts are far and away the best team in the division. Yeah. Says a lot about the Colts this year.
Yes, for sure. I think that they're going to be up there with. I think that we could see another Colts Patriots AFC Championship after all these years later. After not Bountygate, fucking Deflategate. So
yeah,
we'll see. Last but not least, of course, we fucking end on Jacksonville. Why else?
The last team that's super hard to talk about.
Well, okay, so I'll talk about them. And there's a reason why I brought up the fact that I think that Jacksonville is a more talented team than Houston and Tennessee. I think all 4 teams can be good this year. But I do have my questions about the Titans. I do have my questions about the Texans. And certainly there are questions for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But if they're, I guess the drama around the team, the kind of weird smog that's around this team of, I guess what Tom Coughlin's overly strictness and Jalen Ramsey and Larry Fournette not really being like on the same page with the team, kind of, it's certainly Fournette at times acting kind of, fuck you, Jacksonville, kind of attitude. But if they can get over that, this team still has so much talent. The fact, here's the thing. They got Nick Foles, who I actually do believe in, just because of John DeFilippo also being there, who's seen his talent up front, who won the Super Bowl with Nick Foles, and he's going to be a huge impact on the offensive side of the ball. You have as well an offensive line that is so much better now than it is in any of the time that Blake Bortles was at quarterback for this team. And part of that is drafting Jawan Taylor, who I think for a long time was actually the top offensive lineman in this class until some injury concerns came to front. But you have a wide receiver group that will actually have someone throwing the ball accurately to them. You have a tight end group that's not great, but could do. But and of course you have the defense that has Josh fucking Allen on it that he drafted out of Kentucky, that it somehow fell to them.
They fucking got Josh Allen.
Calais Campbell is still there. I think that Yannick Ngakoue, of course, and maybe Marcel Darius will step up and play well this year. Who knows? I mean, Taven Bryan, who is their former first-round draft pick, he hasn't shown it yet, but he may still have some talent built into it. You have Miles Jack. You have Talvin Smith, who's actually, never mind, he's actually retired. Never mind. I forgot. I wanted to say Talvin Smith because I'm just so used to saying those two back and forth.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and of course the secondary, AJ Boy, Jalen Ramsey. I just think there's so much talent on this team. They need to win this year. I really think so.
Yeah, this will be the second best defense in the league.
Who's going to
be first? Who do you think?
I'm just curious because I actually am completely blank. Oh, of course, the Bears.
Bears.
Yeah. Well, because it has been a long filming session. Okay, we've been going for 3 hours. But I had to remember.
I don't care. Yeah. No. Yeah. The Bears. But yeah, Jacksonville's gonna have a great defense. Nick Foles is an upgrade over Bortles. As much as I want to meme about Bortles, obviously didn't pan out. If Fournette gets his shit together too and can be a good teammate and help run the offense, I think that the defense is going to the goal for Jacksonville will be to have the defense stop the other team from scoring points, and then have Jacksonville or have Nick Foles just score enough to win.
Yeah,
and that'll work for them
for sure. I have a lot of faith in this team. I have faith a lot in Doug Marrone. I don't have faith in the front office. I'm a little worried about them. I'm worried about Coughlin, who I loved when he was with the Giants, but he's being a little nuts right now, I feel like, in Jacksonville. But I also, again, you have personalities like Ramsey and Fournette who seem to be sick at this team. Hopefully that does not carry on over into the field either. There's a lot to love here about Jacksonville. I still have faith that this team could do well, and I think that they added enough players that will make them do well. And I think they added a guy and a leader in Nick Foles who I really have faith in Nick Foles. I think he can do it. I really think that he can make Jacksonville a competent, fun team this year. Hence why I think they're the second best team in the division.
Yeah.
Welcome. Thank you for coming to my TED
Talk. All right. Who's going to the Super Bowl?
Oh God, I was not prepared to do predictions.
Just that one. Just that one.
You know what? I did do. I think I filled out a playoff prediction chart, but I'm trying to remember if I have it saved or not. I'm gonna say I like the Colts. And I like. Shit. The NFC's tough. I like the Saints and Colts.
Okay.
A lot.
So what was that Super Bowl?
That was the 2009 Super Bowl.
2009 season.
I think I actually said something very similar in the end of our last podcast in February.
I think so. I definitely said Bears Chiefs. I'm not going with Chiefs anymore. I'm still gonna go Bears because that's just who I am as a person.
Sure.
I would also say Colts, but in the interest of not having my my 2005 self weep again.
Sure.
I'll go Colts. I can't see anyone else. If it's Bears Jaguars, I will lose my goddamn mind.
Imagine. Do you think since we both picked the Colts, but do you feel like do you know? I mean, obviously the Patriots are in it, but
yeah,
Chargers. Do you think that's a potential?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure.
Depends on how they play this season.
I think the two best AFC teams, and I am not just saying this because I want to exclude the Patriots. I think the two best teams in the AFC right now are the Colts and Chargers. I feel like the Patriots will find a way to make it to the AFC Championship and probably win it, but I say the two best AFC teams right now are the Colts and Chargers.
I believe that. I think the best NFC teams: Saints, Rams, Bears,
Cowboys.
I
think it's all the division winners.
Division winners. All the division winners will repeat this year for the NFC.
Imagine that would be a change of pace. I mean, I think that the biggest challengers that I could see for these teams would be
Eagles and Vikings.
Would probably be on the second place teams, honestly.
Would be on the second place teams.
Yeah, Vikings, Falcons, Eagles, Seahawks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I
the biggest competition to the first place teams is going to be the second place teams.
Who do you see as who do you see in the NFC as a potential third or fourth place surprise division winner? Do you see it at all for any of those teams?
Let's go with if I don't know if the 49ers will have their shit together. But I could see them. I also could see healthy Cam Newton mixed Panthers.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's fair.
And not just healthy Cam Newton, like best season of his life Cam Newton. Or I'll say 2015 Cam Newton. With the Panthers there.
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna just throw this one out there, just because I don't think that they're that bad. Well, I mean, I think the Packers maybe, but I don't. It's just
you're wrong.
It's tough. But no. The team I was actually going to say though, Washington. I don't know if that team. I know the offense does not look good on paper. I feel like if Geis ends up being healthy and plays the way he did in the preseason, he played very well in the preseason last year.
He did.
You got Case Keenum, who I think could step aside for Haskins, and then Haskins could have like an RG3 like rookie season, and like the offensive line's pretty good, and like I said, I think the defense is pretty good right now. it could, if something has to fall apart for the early NFC East teams, but it could happen. I don't see the worst to first happening in the NFC. I think I could say pretty comfortably.
Yeah. AFC
Jacksonville
first. Jacksonville, yeah.
I think Jacksonville is a very easy choice there. And if I had to pick a second team, I'd go Bengals.
That's what I was gonna say. Bengals have something.
Mm-hmm.
And think about how the Bengals started last year too.
Yeah, they were. It was true. They were another team that had a very strong start, but then fell apart down the stretch.
Yeah.
I look at the AFC North and the AFC South and the NFC North, and I say those are your three strongest divisions. And if I had to pick a fourth right now, I would say
NFC West.
I was about to say NFC West.
Yeah, NFC West.
I think so. I agree. Yeah. All right. Well, that does it for the MMG podcast.
That was the longest podcast we've ever recorded.
And it's the finale, so there you go.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be completely 3 hours, but because of the cuts in between, it might be close to maybe 2 hours. Who knows? But I think I like it. It's a fitting end to a fitting series on this channel. Like I said, though, we're not going away. We're gonna be a football podcast in some other way, whether it's gonna be on this channel or on a different channel. So just stay tuned to my Twitter or on this channel. I might have an update video. I probably will have an update video. Just let you know what the fuck is happening. But it'll be named something different. But it'll have your two guys here. Talking football as per usual. And I'll be coming September 4th. Wednesday, September 4th is the premiere.
For episode 1 of next season?
Episode 1 of the first season of our new football podcast.
Excellent.
So there you go. And like I said, stay tuned to this channel for any new updates. And of course, look forward next week. May end up going up the following week. Depends on what's happening. For an exciting finale for the MMG podcast, as we will have a few other guests, and we'll all talk about E3 and the exciting things that are happening with that. And of course, something interesting will be happening with Go Cubs too, but we'll talk about that more when we get there.
What?
Well, you know.
Yeah.
There's something special about the E3 podcast, about that podcast.
I thought you were gonna do something to me.
No. I mean, we could potentially. No. But yeah, guys, thank you all so much for watching. If you've watched any of these episodes, any of these football episodes, if you've been a fan, whatever, thank you for watching. Again, we're not going away. It's just going to be a different version.
Different thing.
Different thing.
Look, we're just two weirdos doing our thing. Yes. Hope you enjoy it.
Exactly. And with that, Go Cubs, thank you, as for always.
Yes. It's always been a pleasure.
Absolutely. And I will see you all in the next episode, in the final episode of the MMG podcast. Bye-bye.
Bye.